Hello students, welcome to AKS. In this video, we will discuss about the introduction to Indian polity. Namely, we will look at a brief introduction regarding the making of the Indian Constitution. Firstly, let us try to understand what is a Constituent Assembly. We all know that the Constitution of India was prepared by a Constituent Assembly. A Constituent Assembly is a legislature, okay? It is a legislature specifically designed, specifically created to frame the constitution. Okay, so the primary function of the Constituent Assembly is to prepare a constitution, frame a constitution by several deliberations and debates. Then, on 9th of December 1946, the Constituent Assembly was supposed to draft the constitution for the undivided India. You know that India underwent partition in the year 1947, but by the year 1946 it was still undivided, that is, India and Pakistan were a single union. So the Constituent Assembly was supposed to draft the constitution for undivided India in effect to the proposal of the Cabinet Mission Plan. So the Constituent Assembly was created based on the recommendations of the Cabinet Mission Plan. The Cabinet Mission Plan determined the strength of the Constituent Assembly on the proportion of one representative for 1 million population. Okay. Therefore, it amounted to about 389 members. So initially in undivided India, the Constituent Assembly consisted of 389 members. So the Constituent Assembly consisted of representatives from princely states as well as British India. Which are the princely states? The princely states are the native states, okay, which were about 93 in number, and about British India. What is British India? British India is that part of the country which was under the direct control of the British Crown, the Queen of England. So the British India consisted of 296 representatives in the Constituent Assembly. British India has 11 provinces. It had 11 provinces excluding the 4 Chief Commissioners provinces. Okay, Chief Commissioners provinces were 4 in number. What are the Chief Commissioners provinces? Chief Commissioners provinces are those which are not under the direct control of the British governor. They are administered by the Chief Commissioners. Okay, so which were the 4 provinces under Chief Commissioners rule? They were Delhi, Coorg, British Balochistan and Ajmer Merwara. So these were the 4 Chief Commissioners provinces. Okay. Also note that India's population was divided into 3 categories in each province. So we know that there were several provinces, and in the provinces there were a electorate or the population. So the population was divided into 3 categories, namely general category, which consisted of non-Muslims. Okay, the Sikh population, and then the Muslim population. These were the 3 categories in which India's population was divided within the provinces. Then within British India, the provinces were divided into further 3 categories, that is Group A category, Group B category and Group C category. We know that Group A category consisted of non-Muslim majority provinces. Group B consisted of Muslim majority provinces in the northwest region. Which is the northwest region? The northwest region consisted of mainly Punjab, Sindh and Northwest Frontier Province. And Group C category consisted of Muslim majority provinces in the northeast, namely the Assam region, which was called as Northeast Frontier Agency, West Bengal and likewise. Okay, so this was usually the different categories in which the provinces were divided. Now, originally, the cabinet mission plan suggested that representatives should be directly elected. But what happened is, as the provincial legislatures of British India were already elected by the people, so they were made the electoral colleges. Okay, see, provincial legislatures were already existing. However, these provincial legislatures they were created by an electorate consisting of Indian people from different provinces. So what they thought is, instead of going for a direct election, we can go for an indirect election. Thus, the Constituent Assembly was indirectly elected from the provincial legislatures, which was the electorate. So the people or the representatives in the provincial legislatures, they were the ones who elected the people who would sit in the Constituent Assembly. How did they do it? They did it by the system of proportional representation by a single transferable vote. So what is proportional representation? What is a single transferable vote? That we will discuss later in our lecture regarding polity. As of now, try to understand that, try to remember that the Constituent Assembly of India was indirectly elected by proportional representative through a single transferable vote by the provincial legislatures. Also note that on 9th December 1946, the Constituent Assembly met as a non-sovereign body. It met as a non-sovereign body because it was still under the control of British. Okay. So, Dr. Sachidananda Sinha, Dr. Sachidananda Sinha was the oldest member in the Constituent Assembly, and thus he was given the privilege of the presiding officer over the inaugural meet of the Constituent Assembly. So thus it was Dr. Sachidananda Sinha who presided over the first meeting of the Constituent Assembly. Also note that as there were no legislatures in the native states, see, as we already discussed, there are something called as British Indian provinces and the native states or the princely states. These British Indian provinces are under the directive of the British Crown. Okay, these native states or princely states are ruled by the Indian rulers. There were no, however, most of these princely states did not have any legislature. So, but the population which the states constituted was approximately 90 million people. Okay, and thus the representatives of the native states were nominated, okay, were nominated by the princely states. So the Constituent Assembly consisted of British Indian representatives as well as people from princely states. So these princely states people were not elected, they were nominated. So that's why some people argue that the Constituent Assembly was elected in an undemocratic manner, because these princely states representatives were not elected but they were only nominated representatives. However, it is not right. You will understand this after our discussion. On 13th December 1946, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru introduced the Objectives Resolution in the Constituent Assembly. This objective resolution is very important because it was the basis for the formation of the preamble to the Indian Constitution later. This objective resolution itself described India as a sovereign, independent republic. Okay, so these were the terms mentioned in the objective resolution. So the drafting committee chaired by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar added the word fraternity to the objective resolution. So thus the objective resolution said that India was a sovereign, independent republic state with fraternity. This was the objectives resolution which later formed the basis for the preamble to the Indian Constitution. So as you all know that the Constituent Assembly functioned through a system of committees. So each committee was assigned a specific responsibility of writing the different parts of the Constitution. Okay, and to coordinate the work of all these committees, there was a steering committee. However, one of the most important committees amongst all the committees was the drafting committee of the Constitution. This drafting committee of the Constitution was chaired by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was the chairman of the drafting committee. This was one of the most important committee in the framing of the Indian Constitution. And who are the other members of this committee? We had K.M. Munshi, Gopalaswamy Iyengar, okay, Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, okay, and you had a person from Muslim League who was Muhammad Sadullah Khan. Muhammad Sadullah Khan was from Muslim League, who was part of the drafting committee of the Constitution in undivided India. Then you had Mr. Madhava Rao, who replaced Mr. B.L. Mitter, who resigned from the drafting committee. Then you had Mr. T.T. Krishnamachari, was also a substitute member as D.P. Khaitan passed away. Mr. D.P. Khaitan passed away, so T.T. Krishnamachari was made the member of the drafting committee of the Constitution. So you must be having a doubt, was Gandhi and Jinnah part of the Constituent Assembly? No, Gandhi and Jinnah were never part of the Constituent Assembly. Okay. So now let us discuss, having discussed about the drafting committee, let us discuss about certain important committees, okay, of the Constituent Assembly. You had something called as the Union Powers Committee. The Union Powers Committee was headed by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So what were the functions of this Union Powers Committee? It is for proposals for the powers of the Indian Union. And then you had a Committee on Fundamental Rights and Rights of Minorities. This committee was chaired by who? Mr. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, SVP. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel chaired this Committee on Fundamental Rights and Rights of Minorities. Also, you had Provincial Constitution Committee. This committee was also chaired by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Then you had Union Constitution Committee to write the proposals for the powers of the central government, which was also chaired by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay. So having discussed about the various committees, important committees of the Constituent Assembly, let us try to discuss about the political parties which were part of Constituent Assembly. The most important and the major political party in Constituent Assembly, as you all know, is the Indian National Congress. So apart from INC, which were the other parties, it was the All India Depressed Classes Federation. The All India Depressed Classes Federation, represented by none other than Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar represented the All India Depressed Classes Federation, and his constituency was Nagpur. Then you had All India Women's Conference, which was represented by Hansa Mehta. Okay, Hansa Mehta. Then you had the Landholders Society, which was the party of the landlords, which was represented by Maharaja Dharwanga. Mr. Maharaja Dharwanga represented the Landholders Society. The Anglo-Indians in the Constituent Assembly were represented by Frank Anthony. Mr. Frank Anthony represented the Anglo-Indians. Then you had Indian Christians also in the Constituent Assembly. Who represented them? Mr. H.C. Mukherjee. Mr. H.C. Mukherjee represented the Indian Christians. Then you had the Hindu Mahasabha, which was represented by Mr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. So, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee represented the Hindu Mahasabha. So, in the undivided India, you also had Muslim League in the Constituent Assembly. Okay, so before the partition of India, Muslim League was also part of Constituent Assembly. So, these were the different parties which were part of the Constituent Assembly. So, to assess the working of the Constituent Assembly, there was an office of the Constitutional Advisor to the Constituent Assembly, and this person was Sir B. N. Rao. Sir B. Narasimha Rao was never a member of the Constituent Assembly, but he was the constitutional advisor to the Constituent Assembly. He was assessing the functioning of the Constituent Assembly, and it was Sir B. N. Rao who prepared the first draft constitution, which was examined by a 7-member committee whose chairman was Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer. So it was Sir B. N. Rao, B. Narasimha Rao, who prepared the first draft constitution. So, as you all know that the Constituent Assembly was functioning as a provisional parliament as well as a Constituent Assembly. So, when the Constituent Assembly was functioning as a provisional parliament, it was Dr. Malvankar. Dr. Malvankar, who was functioning as the speaker of the provisional parliament. But when the Constituent Assembly was functioning as a Constituent Assembly, it was presided by Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who was the presiding officer of the Constituent Assembly. Also, there were vice presidents to the Constituent Assembly. Okay, they were H.C. Mukherjee and T.T. Krishnamachari. Okay, Mr. H.C. Mukherjee and T.T. Krishnamachari were the vice presidents of the Constituent Assembly. So, we all know that the Constituent Assembly was a legislature meant to draft and create a constitution. But how did it function? So, we know that there were various committees and various members and representatives who were part of the Constituent Assembly. So, whenever a proposal was put forward for inclusion in the Constituent Assembly, this proposal has to be passed by a consensus. Okay, for a proposal to be part of the India's constitution, a consensus was to be obtained. That is, a majority or most of the members of the Constituent Assembly had to accept for the proposal so that that proposal becomes part of India's constitution. On 26th November 1946, the constitution was enacted, So, on 26th November 1949, the constitution was adopted and enacted, which was first signed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad, which was later opened to all the members, whose signing was completed by 24th of Jan 1950. So, why am I stressing on these words called adopted and enacted? You will know later. So, please remember this date. When was the constitution adopted and enacted? It was on 26th November 1949 itself. On 26th Jan 1930, it was the day when the Indian National Congress asked all the people to take a pledge of independence, or the Purna Swaraj Declaration, which we call as Purna Swaraj Declaration, as part of civil disobedience movement in 1930. So that is why the 26th Jan 1950 was chosen. So 26th Jan 1950 was chosen as the date on which the constitution came into force. Okay, based on the Purna Swaraj Declaration of 1930, this was the day chosen by the Constituent Assembly on which the Constitution came into force. So please note that the Constitution came into force on 26 January 1950. Though it was adopted and enacted on 26th November 1949, the Constitution came into force only on 26th January 1950. So originally, when the Constitution came into force on 26th Jan 1950, it contained 395 articles, 395 articles and 8 schedules. Okay, some parts of the Indian Constitution, such as those provisions dealing with citizenship of India, were brought into effect on 26th November 1949 itself. So apart from this, all provisions relating to the provisional parliament were also brought into effect on that same date. Also, provisions relating to elections, temporary and transitional provisions, and short title came into force on 26 November 1949 itself. Okay, having discussed that, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the law minister of the interim government. He introduced the various articles and motions in the Constituent Assembly for debate, clause by clause. A motion was passed by him to the Constitution as settled by the Assembly be passed on 14th November 1949. It was only by consensus where the articles made part of the Indian Constitution. The motion on the final draft Constitution was declared passed on 26th November 1949. It was on 15th August 1947 that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru addressed the Constituent Assembly when India became independent. He was then the Vice President. Jawaharlal Nehru was the Vice President of the interim government. Post 12 o'clock, the famous speech of India's Tryst with Destiny was given by Jawaharlal Nehru. The Constituent Assembly reassembled after 15th of August 1947 only in October 1947 on 31st of October. That is after partition, the Constituent Assembly met on 31st of October 1947. At that time, there were 212 seats which were of general category, out of which 203 seats were dominated by the Indian National Congress. So post partition, the Constituent Assembly consisted of 299 seats. Earlier, in undivided India, there were 389 seats. So post partition, there were 299 seats, in which 229 seats were British Indian provinces, were consisting of representatives from British Indian provinces, and 70 were from princely states. Okay, that is about a brief introduction of the making of the Constitution.